All right, so we have Battering Crassus here for the beginning of our green cards. Two colorless and a green, and it's 2/1 with Trample and Evolve. I think this guy is sweet. He's a 2/1 for 3 mana, which is obviously not exciting, but 2/1s evolve at least 2 or 3 times, throughout the course of the game if they don't get killed. And the fact that he has Trample is pretty awesome. Trample was actually a pretty high commodity for Gatecrash just because you had all these Blood Rush cards and it's green, so it's not unreasonable that you'll have Blood Rush with this guy in your deck. So I like him quite a bit. I give him a 3.5.
That's a key question. Do you think he has eyes on the sides of his head?
I mean, if he doesn't have eyes, then he doesn't know where to attack, and he just becomes way worse.
I mean, he is a fish beast. I can see him not having eyes.
And then you have the inevitable jealous conflict between him and what was the other fish beast or whatever in
the Flash.
Yeah, the Flash. I can't remember his name. This is terrible. What is his name?
That's gonna drive me nuts.
It's gonna drive me nuts. It's Shark something.
No. He's a fish shark, isn't he?
A fish shark. Oh, I see. Fish shark.
I'm gonna need to look this up.
I guess. Yeah. I mean. Yeah. How do I not know this? I drafted the Shamble Shark. Shamble Shark.
Shamble Shark.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's like Shamble Shark's older brother with legs, or it's I guess if Shamble Shark evolved legs or something.
That costs mana.
Shamble Shark had legs, I think.
I don't know, but we digress slightly.
Yeah.
I think I probably wouldn't give him 3.5. Might be a little aggressive. I mean, he's a little slow. If he were a 2-mana, 2/1 Trample Evolve, definitely a 3.5.
Well, that would just be absurd.
It's not that absurd.
It's pretty absurd.
Well, I mean, if you think about it this way, Shamble Shark, he's basically you're trading Trample for Flash.
Yeah. And increasing the mana by 1.
Yeah, so I'd probably give it a 3.
I guess it's easier to cast too. I mean, I think that this. I don't know if this is the card that's gonna that you're gonna want to throw. I mean, pretty much every Simic deck wants as much Evolve as they can get, right? I think this is actually a little bit better though once you mix Gruul into the picture. If you get the Simic-y Gruul deck, this guy I think would just be an all-star because of the Trample and the Blood Rush. You just didn't have that much Blood Rush in Simic is the problem.
I don't know if Simic Gruul combination exists. I mean, I thought you were going to have to take one guild from Gatecrash and one guild from Return to Ravnica.
What do you mean, take one guild?
In order to get the right amount of playables.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Maybe? Yeah, I guess you wouldn't be getting gold cards in Pack 3, would you? If you did that.
Right.
Interesting. Well, that remains to be seen. I'm going to stick by my 3.5 for now just because I think he's awesome, but history might prove me wrong. Okay, Grapple Warrior, 1 and a green for a 2/2, and you can spend a measly 6 mana and give him 3/3 until end of turn. I guess this guy's fine. A 2/2 for 2 seemed very playable in Gatecrash, will probably continue to be playable. And then the fact that he has a decent upside later in the game is not insignificant. 2.5?
Yeah, I think he's solid 2.5.
Yeah.
Very, very kind of mediocre good. It's yes, he's better than a vanilla 2/2.
Yeah.
But at the same side, it's I'm not going to pick him highly.
Exactly. Maze Behemoth. 5 colorless and a green for a 5/4 trample. Multicolored creatures you control have trample. Nah. Fine, I guess. 6 mana for a 5/4 is kind of underwhelming for green. I guess the trample's nice. Yeah, 2.
Yeah, probably a 2. I don't think he's that good. I have not been impressed with the Maze cycle.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think the blue one was decent, the black one was decent, the red one was awful. This one, I'm just not excited to play it. The fact that I wasn't that excited to play 6 mana 7/6 means that this guy is even more suspect, I guess. But
although now that 7/6 could have trample.
That's true. It could combo. Mending Touch. 1 green, instant, regenerate target creature. This seems pretty bad. I don't this reminds me a lot of Shielded Passage, which was, sometimes playable in a very aggressive deck. So I guess 1.5, maybe 1.
I mean, I kind of feel like it's very similar to Shielded Passage.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Which I've main decked once in a while.
I was never excited to do that, though.
No, I was never excited about it. I'd give it probably a 2.
A 2.
It's hard to say because in an aggressive format it's a little better. You really need your threats to survive.
Right.
But also at the same on that note, like in control decks, you really need your big threats. You want them to survive and be able to protect them. So to be able to protect it from a one mana for 1 mana is pretty nice.
Yeah. All right, we have Mutant's Prey for 1 green. It's an instant. Target creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it fights another creature an opponent controls. So this is kind of like Pit Fight with a qualifier. I mean, Pit Fight was very good. I'd say this is probably a 3.
I'd probably give it a 2.5 or a 2, just because it's so conditional. I mean, if you don't have, I mean, I guess you could see it. It'll work with Unleash. And that's kind of cute. That's kind of cute.
Mm-hmm.
But without Unleash or Evolve, like it's just kind of dead. Versus Pit Fight, like Pit Fight was already fairly conditional.
Right.
You had to have big creatures on the board, and this just adds an extra issue. With it.
I guess the thing I forgot is that with Pit Fight, you oftentimes have to be very selective about like what creature you choose to fight their creature, and then this is just shrinking your pool of creatures to choose from astronomically, because usually like a third of your creatures have 1/1 tokens at most, at any given time.
Right. It's like in a very well crafted deck for it, it could work, but otherwise
I think I agree with like a 2.5 at best.
Yeah, or probably more realistic.
Probably a 2. Yeah, I agree with that. All right, we have Fightoberst, 1 and a green sorcery. Target creature gets +5/+5 until end of turn. This just seems like a bad Titanic Growth, doesn't it?
Yeah. How is it different than Titanic Growth?
I thought Titanic Growth was an instant.
Oh, it probably was. It just seems horrible. Sorcery speed pump spells are just not good.
They're very what's the word, Timmy? Like the little kid on the playground, likes like the big effects.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in order to be playable, it needs to either have trample or it needs to have a lure effect or something.
Right. I predict losing to this card and Spire Tracer.
Yeah, for that reason, because of Spire Tracer, we'll give it a 1.5.
Okay, we have Renegade Crisis, 1 and 2 green for a Beast Mutant. It's a 3/2 with Evolve. And whenever Renegade Crisis evolves, put a 1/1 counter on each other creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it. Yeah, that seems pretty solid. Granted, you need like a lot of other evolve guys to make this just insane. And the fact that it's a 3/2 means it probably won't evolve too many times after you play it. I think a 3.5 is reasonable.
Yeah, I'd give it a 3.5. I mean, a 3 mana 3/2 is in of itself is fairly solid. It's pretty aggressively costed.
Yeah, and it has 32 eyes.
No, I think it has less than 32.
Less than 32?
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to go into the next card before you can count to make sure. Okay, Cerulli Gatekeepers, 3 and a green for 2/4. And if you have 2 gates, when it comes into play, you gain 7 life. That seems pretty underwhelming. I was really, really hoping that this would be Ondu Giant 2.0, and if you had 2 gates, you would like get to go look for another gate or for like a land or something.
Yeah, actually that would have made a lot of sense. But as it stands, this card is basically unplayable. This might be the worst one possible. I'd probably give it a 2 or a 1.5.
I mean, it's a 2/4, so like it's a 2/4. It's gonna like.
If you really need a Pillar Field Ox, by all means play it. But
exactly,
this is not.
It is technically not worse than Pillar Field Ox. That said, is it really better? Debatable. So yeah, I agree. Like 1.5. Okay, Skye Lasher, 1 and a green for a 2/2 flash. Skye Lasher can't be countered, and it has reach and protection from blue. So 2/2 for 2 with flash is, I guess, fine. The fact that it can't be countered is probably irrelevant in the beginning of the game. I guess it ambushes 2/2 flyers pretty well. So, I'd say 2.5. Like normally, like a 2/2 just for 2 is like kind of a 2 in my opinion. A whole lot of 2s. But the fact that like this will randomly be really good against Azorius is a bonus.
Yeah, this can completely wreck Zxarien. It's just reach and protect in Pro Blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably actually give it a 2.5 or 3.
Really? Yeah, I just don't know how many times it's going to be just a bear against some decks, and then against a couple others it'll be insane.
That's true.
I'm going to say like when I lose to this card because I'm sure it'll happen. Like it's going to piss me off because it's such a specific card. You know what I mean? And the fact that I love playing blue flyers, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, Thrashing Mossdog. This is 3 and a green for a 3/3 with reach, and it has scavenge. So it's a pretty reasonable body, and it has reach, which is nice. I don't know how this is a dog. It looks more like a tentacle beast or something, but scavenge is also a bonus. So I think this card is very solid. I give it a 3 to a 3.5, probably 3.5.
So Tentacle Beast is pretty accurate. It is a plant hound. I'd probably give it a 3. It's probably not
Really?
not more than that. I mean, at the end of the day, it is still a hill giant with reach.
Yeah.
And then it can scavenge in the late game.
Right.
But I was never all that impressed with scavenge during Return to Ravnica. Like, it was fine, but the games had to go so long for it to be relevant.
I'm just wondering, like, if with the 3 sets, if things will be slow enough that the scavenge will become more relevant.
It's possible, but again, 6 mana scavenge. That's tough.
It's true. All right, on to the next color. Now, so in the interest of time, we're not going to go through every single artifact because a lot of these are essentially the same thing, just for different colors. The clue stones are basically identical. They're all 3 mana. They all tap for 1 of 2 colors, and then you can cycle them later on for the 2 mana colors that they generate. I think in general these cards are not going to be very good. They're no Thought Stone or whatever the 2 mana Mind Stone. I think the 2 mana accelerants. 3 mana is a much bigger price to pay. I don't think the format will be slow enough that skipping your 3rd step is really worth like ramping into 5. The fact that they cycle later on, I guess, is fine, but I'm just not excited to play these. Maybe if you need fixing. What do you think?
I think these are going to be awesome.
Really?
That being said, I'm going to take them far too early. The thing they remind me of are the keystones from Shards of Alara, which are the three mana dudes, 3 mana artifacts, same thing that ramped 1, but they didn't have a cycle effect. And I think it's, but to be fair, those things tap for 3 colors of mana instead of 2.
Right.
But I think these are going to be pretty solid and a pretty big staple because I'm guessing this format's going to evolve around like the 5, 6, and 7 drops.
Maybe. I could be wrong. I guess this is probably our first big point of contention. I don't think these are going to be super playable. I think people will play them just because you will need fixing. I just don't think these are going to be the desirable type of fixing. Like you're going to want guild gates and things like that. I think the key runes are probably, I guess the key runes are kind of borderline better. There's some key runes that don't really do anything. But like the Azorius key rune, I think, is just going to be like flat out better than the Azorius Cluestone. And the Azorius key rune was never insane. It was fine. So I guess we'll see. All right, so then we have this Mythic Rare Land, Amaze's End. Enters the battlefield tapped. You can tap it for a colorless, and then you can sack it for 3 mana. And you can return it to your hand for 3 mana, and then you search your library for a gate, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. And if you control 10 or more gates with different names, you win the game. I will make it my mission to win a draft or win a match. I'm not going to get that ambitious. To win a match with Maze's End at some point during this format. I think that's a big challenge, though. So I don't think this is playable in any way, shape, or form.
I mean, 10 or more gates involves every single different type of gate.
Correct.
So I think that's a little unrealistic. That being said, I think this card is basically unplayable.
Right. Even if you just use it just for like the fixing, it's super slow. I just don't think it'll be really viable. And then just to touch on quickly the fact that there'll be a whole lot of guild gates. I don't really know how highly I'm going to pick those. I anticipate probably looking to take them, around like the 5 to 7, like before the wheel. If they wheel, great. And as long as there's no other like awesome card in the pack, I might want to pick them up. What do you think?
I imagine getting color getting color screwed fairly often.
Yeah.
It was a common occurrence for me during Return to Ravnica, less so during Gate Crash, oddly enough. But I rarely took them high enough. I wanted to take them kind of in the range that Mace was referring to, 5 to 7, and it rarely happened.
Yeah, we'll see. I think Gate Crash was interesting. It seemed like for a while people like completely ignored the guild gates because they were trying to do super aggro decks, and then everyone was trying to do the 5-color nonsense thing, and so then guild gates were being taken really highly. So it'll be interesting to like when the dust settles to see like where people end up taking them. But I'll be looking around 5 to 7 for them.